They were told to carry no purse and no bag and not even sandals. They had no roof over their heads, no bed or no blankets, no showers, no clean clothes, and no food. They were not fleeing anyone or anything. They were on this mission solely because Jesus asked it of them. How can anyone move about so freely as these 70 did? Perhaps I should try that, forcing myself to give up some things. There are so many boxes in my house right now. I have moved twice in the last 18 months and downsized substantially, but I still can't seem to get rid of everything. I don't need 40 t-shirts. No matter how nice the slogans on the front of them, I do not get them out of the boxes. Most of us are not like these 70 people who were told to carry no purse and no bag, not even sandals. Most of us, of course, have roofs over our head and water to drink. We have a bed and we have blankets. We can take a shower and put on clean clothes, and there is food. If we were asked to make such a move as these 70 followers with adequate provisions, we would still be put upon and feel put upon. But these had no provisions. It would be hard enough with such provisions, setting out into the unknown without anything to carry with them. No one would do it lightly. These 70 people could have had a choice, just like we have a choice. These 70 ended up being told to take none of these things that we have. So why did Jesus ask them to go on this journey? There are three aspects of this passage from Luke that I think are worthy of our attention. First, Jesus sees abundance where others see scarcity. Jesus' commission to his followers then is still the same as his commission is to us now. Surely our context is, of course, different because we are in a different society and a different time, but scarcity is still frightening. But Jesus is trying to make these new disciples, yet untested, spread their wings of faith. God still today is responsible for the growth of our communities, and we are simply called in faith to be open to this new growth, to plan it, to organize it, to do the things that help it along, and to work in a way that anticipates rather than impedes this growth. That's a difficult thing for us to do, especially when the trend in church growth has been downward over the past couple of decades rather than upward. The change in the mentality is a difficult one, but one that we can make. Second, inescapable vulnerability is implicit in this message and in this mission to which Jesus calls these disciples. These 70 are going into a hostile world. Yet rather than arm them for battle, Jesus does just the opposite. They go out, he says, like gentle lambs, without provision, surviving only upon God's grace and the goodness that they encounter in others on their way. They are ultimately dependent upon those to whom they minister. The gospel of hope that we bring to our people and our community still provides answers for us and for those people. Our message still works, even though we give that message in a sometimes hostile world. The third thing that I think is worthy of our attention is that the success of these 70 has far greater significance than even they perceive. Jesus says upon their return, "I watched Satan fall from heaven like a flash of lightning. Thus your names are written in heaven." So of what importance is this statement? It seems to me that Jesus is telling these 70 that what matters more than the earthly successes is the spiritual closeness that each of them get on their journey. It's the eternal relationship with God that matters the most, that is the fruit of this journey. While the journey, of course, itself is important, it's the relationship that matters. This relationship is theirs by grace, for they are simultaneously recipients of, as well as heralds to, the grace and mercy of God through Christ. If you will take a look at your service leaflet and look inside, you'll see in two different places our mission statement for this parish. St. Luke's, demonstrating God's love through Christ to the community and to the world. This is our mission statement, just like it was the mission statement of the 70 whom Jesus sent out into the world. Showing the love of God to others around us makes all of us also more aware of the presence of that love in our own lives. My question to you today is this: how do we prepare to do this? My answer may surprise you, but I think it's the same answer Jesus gave his disciples. Take whatever you already have and just do it. Do not be afraid. Yes, we are vulnerable. Provisions have been scarce, but Jesus tells these 70 that the harvest is already out there and it's plentiful. We are to pray for and invite others to join us, gathering this harvest of abundance that God has prepared for us in this community around us. There are two words that are not actually stated in this gospel lesson, but I think they are really the meat of this passage. And the first is gratitude. I think Luke's gospel is one that is built on this term, gratitude. A classification of things that distinguishes between what is mine or ours and what is God's, what God has given us, is not the best way to look at things. We need to claim the truth that all of life is a pure gift. In the past, I always thought of gratitude as a spontaneous response to something specific, of a specific gift received. But now I realize more and more that gratitude is a discipline. It is a way of life. The discipline of gratitude is the explicit effort to acknowledge that all I am and all I have is given to me as a gift of love, a gift to be celebrated with joy. So today, look in the back of the pew in front of you, and you will notice some little slips of paper. Those little slips of paper serve as the basis for the prayers of the people that are recited every Sunday. So if you have gratitude in your heart for something, write it down, whatever it is, and put it in the little box in the back, and we'll use it, and we'll worship that gift, and we'll worship that gratitude. Gratitude involves a conscious choice for each of us every single day. I can choose to be grateful even when my emotions and feelings can become steeped in hurt or in resentment. It is amazing how many occasions present themselves in which I choose gratitude instead of a complaint. The choice for gratitude rarely comes without some real effort, but each time I make it, the next choice is a little easier, a little freer, a little less self-conscious. There's an old Estonian proverb that says, "He who does not thank for little will not thank for much." Acts of gratitude make one grateful because step by step they reveal that all is really grace. The second word is one that may not be so familiar to you. It's the word fecundity. Has anyone ever heard the word fecundity? Well, if someone tells you you are fecund, that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. because fecundity means something like the bounty of creation. I like it because it's a word that describes God's generous bounty of creation. Another reason that I like it is because it makes me smile, because it's so weird sounding. And yet another reason is because I know you'll remember it when you walk out the door this morning, thinking to yourself, look at all the fecundity around me. And you will claim that in your heart, and I hope you will go to sleep thinking about it tonight. So figuratively, to be fecund is to have a highly intelligent and productive mind, but it also applies to people who use their gifts in service to others, because the bounty only increases when we do that. I think of Mother Teresa as a fecund human being because of the growth of souls produced by her infinite gifts of mercy. It connotes intellectual productivity, characterizing those whose new thoughts are always in abundance and always shared with others around them. What I think, though, more about this word than anything is that we are not the source of that abundance. We are only given it to use for a while that we're on this earth. We are sort of like fecundity tenants. We don't own the place. We don't own the gratitude. We don't own the generosity. We're merely given it to use for this world. People want a place to flock for protection, for solace, for rejuvenation of spirit. More and more these days, we are providing that here. I believe that the 70 who were sent by Jesus gained an awareness of their mission's purpose as they were on it. Look how surprised they were when they returned. They said, "Lord, even the demons submit to us." They did not realize the power in their simple ability to sit, eat, heal, and simply be with others as a guest in their home. Likewise, we are here, I think, discovering anew our ability to be a calming and welcoming presence for those who enter through these doors. Some of you know that I'm a rather avid reader. I usually have 2 or 3 books sitting by my bedside and 2 or 3 more sitting by my living room chair. This week I've gotten engrossed in 2 new ones. One of them is one that was brought to me and loaned to me by Karen Kellogg, and it's called Second Mountain by David Brooks, who's the op-ed writer for the New York Times. Brooks posits that when we reach our second mountain or latter stages of our lives, we find that certain people who have given themselves over to deep and loving commitments to others radiate a certain level of joy, a certain sense of gratitude and delight and kindness. You usually recognize them when you see them. I think the 70 of Jesus' disciples were radiating that when they returned and reported to Jesus about their journey. The second book I've been ensconced in this week is called Healing All Creation. It was written by a priest friend of mine named Adam Bartholomew in Spokane, Washington. He's a professor of theology at Gonzaga University there. Adam and I we met when we were rebuilding homes in New Orleans 12 years ago after Hurricane Katrina, and we've been good friends ever since then. Adam's new book just came out, and he sent me a copy of it. In it, he says that the creation stories of the book of Genesis, as well as the new creation that Jesus talks about in stories from the Gospel of Mark, are largely about what Adam calls the fields of compassion. He puts that term in quotes, fields of compassion, generated by the original works of God in creation and God's compassion for all creation. And then in Mark, the stories of Jesus, fields of compassion for all those around him who were in pain from the oppression at the hands of the Roman Empire. I believe that when we become like the 70 who went out at Jesus' command, we too can generate fields of compassion that also bring us the joy, like that described by David Brooks. This joy is in a new creation that God has been working on since the beginning of time. It's a new creation that we can all participate in. It does not call us to give up everything like the 70 did, but it does call us to prioritize our lives around that which creates real joy for us and for others, lasting joy. As you leave here today, walk across the lawn outside and take a look at the hydrangea bushes, the ones that were around the altar at Easter time. We took them out, planted them in the garden, trimmed them way back, and I have been watering them profusely ever since then. And they've continued to brown because they were traumatized by the moving and by all that went on. But I've noticed this week there are new little shoots coming out of the green hydrangea stems, new little leaves. And so it is my hope that this new creation will be a fecund one for us and will continue to grow as we grow in this parish. Look also at the new shutters on this building, the new coats of paint, the beautiful new ramp that seems like we are more permanent than we once were. Think about the new lift that's going to be going in pretty soon that will give access to all of you who are not able to make it easily down the steps to the undercroft. Look around at the signs of new growth in this parish that create joy for all of us. Fecundity abounds here. It is grace at work. Let us be fruitful and multiply.